This is changing the very fabric of American society. Okay? This is the most pressing issue with this administration. So we are going to talk about the deportations. One of the stories that has actually penetrated public consciousness a little bit is a man of Salvadoran descent who actually in 2011 got legal status from the United States of America, like permanent protection from the United States of America, because he had escaped El Salvador due to gang violence. Okay? Now, that person has been disappeared alongside the many others that were deported. And we're going to be talking about this because J.D. Vance actually replied to Jon Favreau. My moots are fighting on Twitter on this issue. And he responded in the stupidest ways possible. Right-wing commentaries like a blanket they comfort themselves with. Hasan Piker, your interview with NPR is being re-aired. J.D. Vance is not my moot, but Jon Favreau is. My moot is fighting with the vice president, which I find to be odd. Because why is the vice president getting into Twitter beefs? But also, I guess I'm not too upset about it because, you know, more of this, please. We'll cover all of that in a second. But yeah, this is it. ICE admits to an administrative error after Maryland man is sent to El Salvador prison. A Maryland man with protected legal status was sent to the notorious prison in El Salvador following an administrative error. A U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement official admitted in a sworn declaration on Monday. Let's take a look.
I trust our intelligence agencies and the intelligence individuals that are within the Department of Homeland Security, that the individuals who are there are members and a part of this.
I guess it's not that crazy that the vice president is getting into Twitter beefs, considering that the real president, Elon Musk, was getting into Twitter beefs with me a couple days ago. So
this organization and have worked with them. And while we were there at that prison, we not only talked about how to identify these members of these terrorist organizations, but what they did, their actions they took, the case files we built on them, and how we verified that those individuals should be there in that prison. I'm very confident in the fact that those individuals that are there should be there, and that by belonging to these organizations, they were choosing to be on the side that wanted to destroy the United States of America.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem expressing confidence that her agency is only removing criminals from the U.S. On Sunday night, 17 additional men were deported to a notorious prison in El Salvador. According to Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the U.S. military only transported violent criminals, including murderers and rapists with gang affiliations. El Salvador's president posted another video yesterday showing the men in restraints as they were let off a U.S. Air Force plane. According to a senior State Department official, 7 of the men are Venezuelan citizens, while the other 10 are citizens of El Salvador. Meanwhile, the Trump administration acknowledged in a court filing yesterday it inadvertently deported a Maryland man to El Salvador because of an administrative error, but that U.S. courts are...
Now, he's not the only person that has been deported, even though he's not the only person that has been deported that did not deserve this deportation. He's just the only person that ICE has taken responsibility over so far. even though ICE has taken responsibility and then doubled down and said, sorry, nothing we can do about it. No way to bring him back. Now, what is completely psychotic about every part of this process is, ironically enough, if these deportations that are being done without due process were conducted with due process, that person would not be trapped in a slave labor prison in El Salvador right now. That's kind of the whole point of my argument that I have been talking about nonstop. And I don't think people understand how devastating this is. No amount of Cory Booker filibustering is going to change this reality. The Democrats need to take stronger action than this. This is changing the very fabric of American society. Okay? This is the most pressing issue with this administration. I need you to understand this. It is more important than the tariffs. It is more important than Doge layoffs. It's more important than fucking Elon Musk being annoying. This is the number one issue. And I'm not saying that because I have a soft spot in my heart for migrants or whatever. Okay? Because this is not even just about immigrants. This is about eroding an incredibly important part of the judicial structure in this country. This is the number one issue with this administration, if I were to rank them. And before people go, oh, is it more important than Gaza? Ironically enough, it touches on the situation in Gaza as well. When due process is eroded, nothing else matters. Do you understand? Nothing matters. They can just kidnap you and put you through the system without any sort of recognition or any care or consideration because you have no defense. Anyone and everyone will be harmed by this. Like this dumb fuck who says, who cares if they kidnap a terrorist? This story is quite literally ICE saying this guy wasn't a terrorist. This guy was a legal resident in the United States of America. Oopsie, we fucking kidnapped him and shipped him off. But that's not the point. That's not even the point. The point is, you will be considered a terrorist tomorrow and you will have no defense. Yeah, I want to watch this video. Because I saw this. I saw this and it just like broke my brain.
Powerless to order his return. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is a Salvadorian national who came to the U.S. at the age of 16 in 2011 after fleeing gang threats in his native land. According to Politico, he was deemed by an immigration judge in 2019 to be a likely member of the MS-13 gang, a decision he sharply contested and that the government credited to information.
Yeah, except guess what? That was a claim made by another prisoner, okay? And guess what? The judge found that the claim was erroneous. It was made up. As in, he was able to contest successfully a false claim that was made against him in a court of law when there was fucking due process.
Gleaned from a confidential informant. But the court also agreed at the time that he should not be deported to El Salvador, finding that his fear of being persecuted or tortured was credible. On Monday, attorneys for the government admitted that Abrego Garcia was deported accidentally. Although ICE was aware of his protection from removal to El Salvador, Abrego Garcia was removed to El Salvador because of an administrative error. Trump lawyers said the...
For those of you who at this point still don't know what due process is, I'm going to tell you, okay? The principle of the due process guided the framers of the U.S. Constitution. The Fifth Amendment and the 14th Amendment, for example, prohibit federal and state governments from depriving people of their life, liberty, or property without due process of the law. As in, if your freedom is going to be taken away from you, and it's understandable in certain instances, obviously, if you're like a fucking violent criminal or whatever, innocent until proven guilty matters. You must be able... You must be found guilty beyond reasonable doubt in a court of law. As in, there has to be an investigation. Your side will defend the claims being made by the prosecution. A jury will judge you. A judge will adjudicate. So that this doesn't happen. Do you understand? Here is directly from the Cornell Law School Legal Information Institute. The Constitution states only one command twice. The Fifth Amendment says to the federal government that no one shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of the law. The 14th Amendment, ratified in 1868, uses the same 11 words called due process clause to describe a legal obligation of all states. These words have as their central promise an assurance that all levels of American government must operate within the law, legality, and provide fair procedures. Most of this article concerns that promise. We should briefly know, however, 3 other uses of that word have had in American constitutional law. The Fifth Amendment's reference to due process is only one of many promises of protection the Bill of Rights gives citizens against the federal government. Okay, it's there to protect you from the government, from government overreach. That's what the Constitution does. Originally, these promises had no application at all against the states. The Bill of Rights was interpreted to only apply as against the federal government, given the debate surrounding its enactment, blah, 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 blah. Okay? But substantive due process. The words due process suggest a concern with procedure rather than substance. And that is how many, such as Justice Clarence Thomas, who wrote the 14th Amendment's due process clause is not a secret repository of substance, are guarantees. Okay, this is like boring legal interpretations coming from Supreme Court justices. But basically, the clause reflects the Magna Carta of Great Britain, King John's 13th century promise to his noblemen that he would act only in accordance with the law and that all would receive the ordinary procedures of law. It also echoes Great Britain's 17th century struggles for political and legal regularity. It is at the heart of what like Western liberal democracies have maintained. Okay, it's like other countries and other cultures have had similar versions of this as well, but it's like long-standing precedent. It is one of the most significant aspects. That's why when you watch like historical fiction or whatever, and those guys are wearing the wigs, even all the way back in the fucking 13th century, there is some kind of legal work being conducted. Because every man has a right to a fair trial. Because without that, you can just go up to a random person and say, I'm a member of the law enforcement. I'm a member of law, the I am a law enforcement officer, and I have declared you to be engaging in illegal acts. I do not have to prove any of those things. I can simply claim you did so, and you have no recourse. I am now kidnapping you, I am putting you in jail, and I am deporting you. In that process, you have no way of going, no, I'm an American citizen. No, I am innocent. Nothing. That's what that fucking means. It's insane. And that's precisely what's going on. And it's shocking to me that Americans can't recognize this and think, as a matter of fact, that non-citizens shouldn't get this procedure. It is quite literally what happened in the witch trials. Due process at the heart of innocent until proven guilty. You have to be able to prove your innocence. If you can't, then everyone is guilty. I can't believe I'm describing the most basic concept. Because guess what? If due process does not exist in this country, and currently as it stands, the Trump administration is actively eroding this constitutionally protected right that everyone has. If due process is eroded, then all of us are non-citizens. You understand? Every single person in this chat, no matter how fucking white or rich you are no longer a citizen. You are a terrorist. It is entirely up to the person that brands you as a terrorist. If you think it won't harm you, you are wrong. Giving this unimaginable amount of power to a bunch of fucking psychos is insane. Conservatives know this, but they think constitutional rights are only reserved for citizens and non-citizens are exempted. It doesn't matter because you can't prove your citizenship if due process doesn't exist. That is my point. There is no citizen and non-citizen if there is no due process. Your citizenship is now entirely in the hands of the person who's apprehending you. That's how this works. Yes, of course that includes me. That includes every single person on U.S. soil right now, citizen or non-citizen, tourist alike. Jewish last name hack? What? No, that's not a hack, chatter. You will not be spared. The fuck? That chatter wasn't, he wasn't being anti-Semitic. That chatter is most likely Jewish themselves. He's just, so 49-month subscriber. Yeah, he said, I'm Jewish. Come on. A 49-month subscriber isn't going to fucking magically be anti-Semitic out of nowhere like that. By the way, this just also this is breaking news, but judge rules that Mahmoud Khalil's a habeas case should go forward in New Jersey because that's where he was when the petition was filed. They poured over 67 pages of analysis on the issue. This is a part of that structure. This is a part of the due process, ironically enough. The very fact that he's still in the custody of the state is insane to me. It is a real crime in and of itself. The Trump administration wanted to move it expeditiously to Louisiana, but they failed. As of this moment, the case will proceed in New Jersey, where the activist judges will most likely take a fairer approach to the matter because they're not the actual activist fucking judges in Louisiana. Are you going to cover Senator Booker making history right now on the Senate floor? I am going to make history by Brian Kilmeing on a live stream. I feel like you should be boosting his speech right now. No, man, I don't care about fucking Lin-Manuel Miranda-ass speeches on the fucking Senate floor while I'm talking about constitutional rights being shredded, okay? Shut the fuck up. He's making history, he says. I covered it this morning. If you want to see my reaction to it, I'm sure one of the HasanAbi fan accounts have already probably posted it. Ay, ay, ay. Libs literally don't fucking care about this at all. It's insane. I know. Let's continue.
The court has no ability to bring him back now that he is in Salvadorian custody. The man's attorney is asking the court to order the Trump administration.
My filthy leftist crafting group is praising Cory Booker and yelling at everyone who says it's performative. These hacks ain't leftists. I mean, you should ask them what he's filibustering. Like what Senate procedure are they limiting with this action? Because that's what the filibuster is supposed to be. A filibuster is not supposed to just be about like talking.
Ask for his return and, if necessary, to withhold payment to the Salvadorian government, which says it's charging the United States $6 million a year to jail U.S. deportees. Trump administration attorneys told the court to dismiss the request on multiple grounds, including that Trump's primacy in foreign affairs outweighs the interests of the man and his family, and also noted that he was not likely to be tortured or killed in El Salvador. According to his attorney, Abrego Garcia has no criminal record, is married to a U.S. citizen, and has a 5-year-old disabled child who is also a U.S. citizen.
So John, you're covering the story, and of course, the judge in 2019, during President Trump's first term, said that if he went back to El Salvador, he was likely to be tortured, right?
Yes.
So he's in El Salvador right now, and they're admitting that they made a mistake. President has a very close relationship with the El Salvador government, Salvadorian government. Can't they just say, we made a mistake? We need...
please return this man.
Please return this man, and we'll process him correctly.
President Trump just yesterday took to Truth Social to praise the president of El Salvador, thank him for his help in his immigration policies. This is the first time the administration has admitted a mistake. This is not the first time that others have said there's been a case of mistaken identity. We've heard from other family members, other immigration activists who say, look, you've swept up some of the wrong people and deported them to this prison in El Salvador, which is known as a hell prison. And this, though, the Trump administration is saying, yes, we shouldn't have deported him there, but are claiming, and again, let's make clear, claiming that they have no ability to get him back. Now that's the crux of it now. The families, this man's attorneys are pushing to say that's ridiculous. Of course you can withhold payment. Reverend Sharpton, this is something where this man needs to be returned. He's committed no crime here in the United States. He has no criminal record. Police at the time, when he was first rounded up, they said they had no evidence he was a gang member, though an immigration judge said deemed it, quote, likely because of information they got later from a confidential informant. But the fact of the matter is, this is someone who has not committed a crime in the United States other than being here illegally. And in defiance of court recommendations, the Trump administration put him to El Salvador and claims they just can't get him back.
And I think that this is the kind of example.
Bro, it's crazy that they can't even fucking, when they're covering the story in a critical tone, they still have to hand it to the Trump administration a little bit, where they're like, well, he might have been a criminal. There's actually some veracity to these claims. It's like, no, there isn't. There fucking isn't. And once you file a claim to be here and a immigration judge decides that there is enough reason for you to fear for your safety and therefore allow you to be here, something that the fucking current ICE administration the current administration's ICE agents have recognized. Why the fuck are you bringing this up?
That those of us that resist this administration ought to really be amplifying, because you have to make people in Wisconsin, in Florida, understand that could be you. This guy has no reason to be in a jail in El Salvador. He's only there because of Trump's policies. And now the Trump people are saying we can't do anything about it, whether we believe that or not. I mean, how do you do that in the United States of America? And to say to a court, well, his interest, the president's, outweighs the family. Well, I thought the president's interest was to protect all the citizens of the United States. Here's a woman who's a citizen whose husband is there, admittedly for no reason. This is a threat to everybody, but you have to drive that to the public to understand.
First of all, no one believes that the Trump administration cannot get this guy back. If they actually want to get him back, they may not. They've been dictating the terms of this relationship with El Salvador from the beginning, paying $6 million to take all these alleged criminals. And I think the larger point, Joe, something we talk about, which most Americans say, if you have gang members who are here illegally committing crimes, get them out of the country.
Right.
People support that.
Nobody
But what
disagrees.
happens when you go in with a big net and scoop up a lot of people, in some ways indiscriminately, you're going to get stories like this.
Well, and this goes back to what we said the morning before Jeffrey Goldberg came on with the second signal info dump, which is sometimes the best political move, the smart political move, is to say we made a mistake.
Yeah.
Not going to do it again. In fact, we've learned from our mistake. And while we think this is a policy that most Americans want, and we said we were going to do, we made a mistake with this one gentleman. We're going to bring him back, and he's going to go through the correct deportation process, and he'll have due process, everything else. So, yeah, but to say we don't have the power, nobody believes that. So, again, sometimes it's just best to say, hey, we're doing a lot of stuff. We messed up. We're going to bring this guy back and do the right thing.
The problem is...
And Americans will say, okay, this policy, I support the policy, and they're admitting when they make a mistake.
The entire flights are in question because these people did not receive due process, and the judge, so there's a bigger issue going on about the entire group of men that were sent to El Salvador, and more being sent now. And now they're saying a mistake, but we can't fix it. My God. We'll be following this. We'll have much more
But again,
tomorrow.
the thing is, this is something that, first of all, was promised on the campaign, but it was promised for criminals, right? Number one.
Right.
Number two, it is a policy that the overwhelming number of Americans support. So carried out in a way.
This is the voice of the opposition, dog. We're in Nazi Germany, okay? Like, even in an instance where the only reason why this is a story is because the ICE facilities, the ICE administrators admitted to their wrongdoing and then said, my bad, nothing we can do about it. This is not the only person who has been deported with erroneous claims. Okay? This is the only person so far that they have recognized they've deported with erroneous claims. And this is the coverage that you're affording to the matter? Oh, well, you know, Americans did vote for this. They wanted this. Like, that's insane. That's fucking insane.
Way that will keep the overwhelming the Americans on your side. And when you make a mistake, admit it, fix it, and Americans are like, okay, they fixed it.